Ever had a neighbor who thinks they own the world and everyone on it? That was Karen. She arrived one bright Saturday morning like a storm cloud over my peaceful farm, striding up the gravel path with her clipboard clutched tight, heels clicking like tiny gavel strikes against the wooden boards, her eyes scanning every corner as if she were about to pass judgment on a court of criminals rather than a harmless farmer feeding his hens. From the moment she opened her mouth, it was a torrent of accusations. My rooster was apparently a terror to the neighborhood. My goats were disturbing the peace, and I, the humble farmer, was dragging the entire community into chaos simply by existing. I laughed quietly to myself, tossing feed to my chickens, pretending not to hear her dramatic proclamations. But I could sense the gears turning behind her eyes, scheming and building toward the kind of spectacle only someone like Karen could imagine. She demanded I report to the HOA board immediately, as if my presence at their meeting would somehow satisfy some invisible decree she had personally authored. I reminded her politely that I wasn't part of their HOA, and she waved her hands like I had just told her the sky was green, huffing and puffing with outrage that someone would dare ignore her authority. That same afternoon, a thick envelope appeared in my mailbox, stamped with ominous red letters declaring a violation notice. She claimed my livestock were disturbing the neighborhood, every word exaggerated and full of dramatic punctuation. I skimmed it, shook my head, and casually tossed it into the goat pen, watching with amusement as one of the goats eagerly chewed it up. The next morning, her antics escalated further. There she was at the fence, phone in hand, recording the rooster's crow as though it were evidence of some nefarious crime. She yelled across the yard, insisting this footage would go straight to the board. I waved with my coffee mug, sipping calmly as the sun rose, my animals undisturbed by her shrieks. Her theatrics drew the neighborhood kids who came to pet the goats, and Karen shrieked warnings about contamination and safety hazards, her voice bouncing across the fence while parents rolled their eyes, muttering about how someone needed a new hobby. Each day, she escalated her notices, increasingly sloppy, full of caps, locks, underlines, and bold threats about removal and sanctions. She even stopped joggers, warning them that my farm operation was illegal and that I would soon face consequences. I had tried ignoring her, but she was relentless, obsessively documenting every hen cluck and goat bleat, clipboard in hand, pacing the yard like a court stenographer. Her whispers and gossip spread quickly, painting me as a criminal in the eyes of neighbors who were already used to her dramatic flair. I realized that if she wanted a confrontation, I would give her one, but on my terms. When I finally attended one of her so-called HOA meetings, the circus atmosphere hit immediately. Karen strutted in, folders in hand, glaring as if victory were already hers. Calmly, I explained my situation, stating clearly that I was not subject to HOA rules, that my farm complied with all laws, and that her claims had no authority over me. Karen slammed her folder shut, claiming I had 1 week to remove my livestock or move my farm entirely, as if that decree had any legitimacy. My patience and sense of humor carried me through, but I knew the next phase of her obsession was inevitable. That evening, I shared everything with my wife, who listened calmly, smiling knowingly. "Relax," she said. "She's not going to succeed, and if she pushes further, she'll regret it." I went to bed that night knowing that the showdown was approaching, and that Karen's obsession had only just begun. The following morning, the drama exploded into full view. I was stacking hay when an urgent pounding at the door jolted me. Karen, red-faced and frantic, jabbed a finger at me, shouting accusations as if I were about to be arrested for harboring dangerous criminals. Her voice boomed, each word filled with righteous fury and self-assigned authority. She yelled that I was above the law, flaunting her belief in the HOA's power, demanding consequences for my alleged crimes. I leaned casually against the doorframe, repeating that I had broken no law, that livestock were not banned, and that her threats were meaningless. Karen's obsession with spectacle over reason became painfully clear when she whipped out her phone and dialed 911, her words flowing into the receiver with wild urgency about illegal livestock and neighborhood disturbances. Within minutes, sirens echoed down the street, neighbors peeking from windows, children pausing mid-ride on their bikes, and even the animals freezing as if sensing the drama. Karen practically vibrated with excitement, confident that justice had arrived at last. The patrol car pulled up, doors opening to reveal the unexpected twist. My wife, wearing her uniform, badge gleaming in the morning sun, stepping out with the calm authority of someone used to command. Karen, still oblivious, pointed at me, shouting for arrest and immediate action. I simply smiled, watching as my wife approached with a composed smirk, clearly aware of the absurdity unfolding. The tension in the air was electric. Neighbors held their breath, ready to witness the climax of Karen's obsessive crusade. The street was silent, but for Karen's high-pitched shrieks, expecting a victory that would never come. My wife, eyes locking with mine, smiled and pulled me into an embrace, planting a slow, unapologetic kiss on my lips, leaving Karen frozen, jaw dropped, completely humiliated. The neighborhood watched in stunned silence, children wide-eyed, neighbors suppressing laughter, and even the goats chewing quietly as if impressed by the turn of events. Karen's protestations faltered as my wife, calm and commanding, addressed her accusations with icy clarity. She reminded Karen that her midnight gossip sessions were louder than any farm noise, warning her that further misuse of emergency services would result in her facing the law herself. Karen's face turned crimson, words failing her, leaving her shrieking, retreating down the street, a once mighty self-appointed tyrant reduced to embarrassment. The crowd erupted into laughter, relief, and disbelief as the absurdity of her crusade came to a spectacular, satisfying end. I finally realized that sometimes the best way to deal with an obsessed neighbor is not confrontation, but patience, clever timing, and the quiet support of someone with real authority. Karen's defeat was total, public, and unforgettable, and for the first time in weeks, peace returned to my farm. Karen's obsession didn't end with her humiliation. She paced her house, muttering threats and planning revenge that never seemed to materialize. Life on the farm returned to calm. The chickens clucked, goats grazed, and I moved through my days with quiet satisfaction. Karen continued her attempts at intimidation with sloppy violation notices and whispered warnings to neighbors, but her fire was fading. One morning, I approached her gate with cookies and a friendly smile, inviting her to talk. Confused by my calm demeanor, she muttered, "This isn't over," took the cookies, and stormed off. Over the next few weeks, Karen's antics slowly diminished, her credibility evaporating as the community quietly sided with me. Occasionally, she lurked, phone in hand but never acted, realizing her obsession could not overcome reality. Life on the farm thrived. My animals were happy, neighbors amused, and peace returned. The story of Karen became local legend, a reminder that patience, reason, and quiet resilience always outshine overreach and obsession. In the end, the farm remained a sanctuary, and Karen's defeat, silent but undeniable, proved that calm and truth prevail over self-appointed authority.